Hello class 7. Let us move on with the lesson, that is India in the Middle Ages. So far we have learnt about Harshavardhana, we have learnt about the fall of the Gupta Empire and attacks of the Huns and how the Huns had impacted the Indian culture and society, and we have learnt about Harshavardhana, the last notable all India king of ancient times. Now we are learning about the Harsha's rule from the biography of Harshavardhan composed by his court poet Banabhatta. Harshacharita he had composed, Banabhatta his court poet. And another source of Harshavardhan's rule was the Chinese pilgrim Huan Sang's account of Harsha's rule. That is also a very important source of the history of the, Harshavardhan's rule. Huan Sang, the Chinese pilgrim, he had come during the rule of Harshavardhan. He stayed in India for about 14 years and he had travelled many parts of India. He had given a very clear description about the Indian people, the society of India, as well as the happenings or the day-to-day activities of the court of Harshavardhan. From Huan Sang's book See You Ki, we come to know about the people of India during that time. He had written that the people during that time, they were very simple-minded and led an honest lifestyle. However, Huan Sang himself had been robbed quite a few times. So law and order was there, but there were incidents of robberies and stealing also. So apart from this, Huan Sang had also described about the class division of Indian society. He had written that the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they were the upper classes of the society. However, both the classes lived very simple life, and there was the supremacy of the Brahmin priests in the society. The priestcraft was very widely practiced during Harshavardhan's rule. Also, Huan Sang had described that Pataliputra, which was so far the capital of the Guptas, the capital of the Mauryas, it was no more an important city. Rather, Harshavardhan's capital Kannauj and his center of religious activity Prayag, these two cities had become very important during his rule. Huan Sang also had studied at Nalanda University. We are going to learn about Nalanda University next. Nalanda University was during ancient time, it was one of the world famous universities. Students from all over India as well as from Central Asia, from China, from Ceylon, they used to visit this university, stayed over here and got their knowledge in various subjects like grammar, literature, both in Sanskrit and Buddhist scriptures, philosophies, mathematics, science, all kinds of subjects were being taught in this university. Admission to this university was quite tough. It was very difficult to get admission, and the students, they used to study. There was no fixed time for studies. If discussion started in the morning, it could have lasted till late night. I mean, if the outcome was not available, the discussion on the topic would have gone for late in the night. So there was no fixed timing for the studies, and the teachers and the students both had to follow very strict discipline. The boarding and lodging and medical facilities for the students and teachers were all free, and the university was patronized by the emperors, or rather the kings. Harshavardhan himself was a very important patron of Nalanda University. He used to donate a large sum of money for the going on of the working of the university smoothly. So Nalanda University was one of the most important topic from this chapter. Next, we are moving towards the topic, the condition of India after Harshavardhan. Now, Harshavardhan, as I have already informed you, that he was the last powerful king of India, ancient India. Now, after Harshavardhan, many small kingdoms had emerged, and among them some of the kingdoms or dynasties, they have become quite powerful. We come across the Pala dynasty, Pala kingdom in the region of Bengal. We come across the Gurjara Pratiharas. Pratihara in Prakrit, this word in Sanskrit, it means doorkeepers, or the guards of the doors. So they emerged in the western part of our country, Pratiharas. Rashtrakutas in the southern part of our country. So various kingdoms have emerged after passing away of Harshavardhan. Now these there were many southern kingdoms also, Cholas, Pallavas, Pandyas. These Rashtrakutas I have already informed. Hoysala, Chalukya, they were all the southern kingdoms, and these small kingdoms, they always kept on fighting against each other. There was no unity. Political unity was not at all present during that time. Amongst all the other small kingdoms, the Rajputs had become a very powerful kingdoms. Many Rajput clans have emerged. They were very powerful, emerged in the western part of our country. Rajput, this word is already, you can derive the meaning that the sons of kings. Rajput, Put means son, Raj means king. So sons of king, this word means. They were actually, it is said that they were the mixed race. They actually emerged due to the mixture or fusion of the foreigners and the Indians. So sometimes it is said that they emerged from the solar or sun or moon race. They are the descendants of the solar and lunar races. And sometimes it is said that they emerged from the holy pyre of Mount Abu. And the Rajputs, this is called the Agnikula theory of origin of Rajputs. But there is no such authenticity or truth to this theory. And amongst these Rajput races, we come across Chandelas, Guhilas, Tomars. The Tomars were the Rajputs who had established their kingdoms in the city of Delhi, which was known as Delhi-Ka during that time, during 736 AD. So we will continue to learn about Rajputs in the next video.